Have you ever known a particular event where something happened where you're locked in? You know, you just can't get rid of that problem or that anger, or it works you for days and weeks and years. You just can't get rid of that grudge. You just can't stop the revenge. You know, it is something like we're locked in a picture, huh? It's like being locked into a picture, and it's like being locked into one of these illustrations or photographs. And if we get locked into a particular picture, emotional satisfaction becomes our God. Uh, and we want to satisfy that emotion because somehow we're locked in that picture, and whatever it is that has locked us in, we're almost happy about it. Have you noticed that? You're almost happy that you're still pissed off, or that you still are going to do it, and even though it's not good for you, you're happy kind of about it. Have you noticed that? Mm-hmm. That's strange, isn't it? That is strange. Huh. Why? Why are we locked in? I mean, why are we happy? Kind of that it hasn't gone away, and that somehow we know where the door is, but we don't want to look at the door, or we pretend that we can't walk out, or I just don't want to walk out, for whatever it means. Why? The what? The promise of the satisfaction of what the possible results that are going to take place, or something to that effect.
Not results, but the relief of getting even.
The relief of getting even, or getting, like skewing somebody up and watching them bleed, and stuff like that. Well, anyway, so it indicates that we have the ability to lock ourselves in voluntarily. And if we do that with these very specific events, which cause a lot of problems and can go for years and years, and then what else do we do? What else have we done with ourselves in a quiet way? That where we have locked ourselves in to a particular mentality, a particular way of being, thinking. Huh? The one thing that kind of frightened me when I was a kid, that I would not end up like this person, or that I would not end up like that. That frightened me. I don't know about you, but that hit me a few times. Don't get to be like that, or don't end up over there. And I was always wondering, how would I end up over there? And how in time we all find out how easily time, and we are there. So we have this ability to lock ourselves in quietly. Now, I wonder how many other pictures we have literally locked ourselves into a particular philosophy, a mentality, a way of being, a way of thinking. Huh? And I wonder how many keys do we have that we have accumulated locking ourselves in. And somehow we don't know where the keys are, and yet we do. That's what these pictures are also about. To pay attention, not just to the rooms that are obvious that we don't want to leave, that we locked ourselves in to do unresolved revenge, but to the subtle ones. Those are the dangerous ones. To the subtle ones that somehow time will easily slip by. Those are the ones that I'm after with you. Because it's those subtle ones that easily that have the fineness, that have the, the, the sensitivity to unlock the big ones. It's always the microcosm unlocks the macrocosm, people. The macrocosm basically does not unlock the microcosm. And that's what we're after here, the subtleness. Yeah.
You're saying that to focus on the gross and the obvious, but if that's what we're preoccupied with, how do you catch what are the subtle?
For instance, that one picture that everybody likes with the woman sitting on the bed and the man drowning, huh? That's subtle. That's pretty subtle, you know? People do that. It's so natural. It's subtle. But in such a way, the picture has amplified and made it very gross and very obvious. But we, in our little chatter, do that. Right. And that's what this is about. These pictures are to draw out what is so subtle, so non-obvious, and to amplify it and make it obvious. Because that's what really gets in our way, the subtle. Not the big blows. It's the small, subtle blows that we constantly hit ourselves and other people with our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own ignorance. And this is what literally, once we begin to understand the subtleness, and we start to change these small little cue cards, these small little codes inside, it creates a chain reaction. The big stuff doesn't do much.
What are the other subtle slides that we have seen? What are the other subtle that you would say they are subtle?
We're going through it. All of them, actually. Basically, a great deal of them.
But the anger is not very subtle.
Pardon me?
Anger.
No, the anger, that's a gross one. Right. That just plain gross. Has nothing to do with the subtle. That's an obvious thing. Yeah. It's just that don't do those big ones. Yeah. Picture, please. Can you draw the curtains, please? Functions of the mind and what it does. The tools. It's a camera. It takes pictures. It touches things. It turns things. Measures distance. It walks on pebbles, thinks about pebbles and arrangements. It thinks of numbers and additions and calculus and such, and pencils and such. Can you draw one closer, please? It hears. It's hearing over here. It takes in all the senses, and it boxes everything, like we box people. We box nations. We box languages, and we easily categorize and box practically everything in this world. We box it up, and we box it up as neatly as possible. And sometimes we're not so neat, and we like to know where point A goes to point B and what it does. And if there's a short circuit, we go to fix it. And as long as everything is boxed up, the mind is happy. When there is chaos, the mind can be very unhappy, and we can be very confused. So we try to be as, let's say, as diligent as keeping up the ratios of 1, 2, 3, and how to be and how to act, and I expect you to be like this, and you expect me to be like that, and don't say something that's too frightening or that's what you don't want to hear, and then everything stays in its place. Keep the right colors. Don't wear things too flashy. Don't wear things too dull, and this is what the mind does. And so we all tend to have and get along pretty well. It's really funny when you go into each nation in Europe, from country to country, you can even see that the cars are different. It's unique. The cars that the people in France buy are very different compared to the Germans, compared to the Swiss, it's really unique. And how people drive, especially too, and how they all drive very differently. And it seems like the further south you go on the planet, the worse they get. And the further north you go, the drivers seem to get better. I wonder why is that? Huh? Yeah. Okay, next picture, please. Now this is a subtle. Remember this. These are the very subtle little things, and we just don't pay any attention to them because we're always constantly thinking of the whole, unless all of a sudden something takes hold here. But remember, the mind categorizes, labels, and categorizes in boxes. Labels, categorizes, and boxes. Boom, 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 boom. Are you doing that? Do you do that? And most of us do that without even knowing it. But that's the mind doing it. What about you, the persona? Persona basically doesn't do that. It just takes it as is. But once we start school and we find that there's a profit, there's a tremendous profit to categorize. And the more, let's say, you categorize, the more you box, and the more you can put the camera in the right box, the teacher says, oh, you're wonderful, or you got good rationale, and this and that, and there's your profit. And we learn the rewards of profit at a very early age. So when we find that when we start to categorize people, oh, you're from that country, oh, you think like this, oh, you're like that, oh, I'm going to categorize you, and pretty soon you have a group of friends that think the same way, and because now you have boxed your neighborhood, so to speak. You have boxed your classmates. And this is what people do. And it's hard to stop this habit. It's very difficult. A good scientist, a good person who starts to understand the mind, understands the functions of the mind. The function of the mind is to categorize, is to put things in their nicely, neat, appropriate box where you can get it when you need it. For that's all this is for, is to get the tools when you need it. That's all it's for. But when we use the mind to attack someone, when we use the mind to, when we abuse the mind for our own gain of hurting someone, hurting ourselves, it's abuse. Then we cross the point. The mind is to get the appropriate tool, the appropriate information, the appropriate color when we need it, to assist us to be more well-rounded, to be happier, to be kinder, to solve problems, etc., but not to abuse it for something. Yeah, yes.
Is this when you say to befriend your mind and
Yes.
to use it?
Yes. Can you go back, please? The mind. A very funny thing that when an organism has developed so many neurons, when an organism has lived for so many minutes or hours or years, it's very much like a computer. They know that when a computer has put so much memory into it, all of a sudden it almost starts to have its own thinking to some degree. It's a very odd phenomenon where things just start to run on its own. And that's the mind. And after a while, the mind, it's not alive, it's a function, but after it starts to acquire so many bits of information, and pretty soon there's a profit, and you add a little emotion to it, and a little bit of sugar and high, and a little pride, and a little arrogance, and a little laughter, and a lot more intelligence, and a lot of good color. And after a while, it almost kind of runs on its own. It starts to have a sense of self on its own, and yet that's not the case. And then, when the persona, the heart, falls, it hurts too much, and pretty soon it doesn't want to think. It feels too ashamed of itself. The mind still has to run the show. The mind's got to take off and still run the darn show. Run the body, run your life. Hey, wait a minute here. We got to do this. We got responsibilities, because that's what it's been taught. So it takes off in its own until the persona gets up and all of a sudden, okay, I'm back now. I'm going to run the show now. I feel better about myself. And then it starts to take over. But people don't know the difference when the mind is active or when you're active. You think it's all one, and it's not. The mind is but a tool. Next picture, please. To think, to ponder, to wonder, to imagine, to explore. You know, when one of these clouds, again, once the mind has lived for so long and has felt the pleasures of being somebody and thinking that you're a somebody, and that's not the case. In essence, your images of yourself inside, you start to believe it. And then something happens, and then this cloud, which is a cloud, your image starts to speak to you, and you start to hear voices inside. You're in trouble. You're really in trouble. And you could call it a chemical imbalance, or whatever you want to call it, but when you start to hear voices inside and believe they're the clouds, you're in trouble. And that happens a lot to lots of people, because they don't have a good understanding of the mind, of what it's doing, that all they are just images. But when you have these voices and due to an imbalance of emotions, and where the emotional satisfaction is somehow running the show, and you're carrying the grudge a little bit too long, you're injecting, it's like injecting certain fuel, a certain chemical into this one act of this person inside, and pretty soon it starts to speak. Because the mind is a phenomenon. It's a beautiful phenomenon. And it has ability to, let's say, be very magical. And it can do all sorts of wonderful things. It can have you see images and illusions and everything inside. And this is where we have to be careful and have a good idea of what's taking place inside. For that's all what inside really is. Just clouds. Clouds that disperse, that come and go. But to understand and to make use of these clouds. Can you magnify the mind up here, please? Just one. There we go. Here's ABC, starting off a very early age, 1, 2, 3, and a ship, and you know, everything's very simple. And pretty soon we add another image, and pretty soon we categorize it, and we categorize that person, then we find out we profit if we categorize you, and I put you over here, and I put my other friend over here, and I put this person I don't like over here, and pretty soon I got this nice little box over here, and these people are over here, and pretty soon we got enemies over here, and we got us who live on this side over here, and we start the war inside. And we do all sorts of games inside. And that's all it is, just empty space and clouds. When we take this picture and project it outside, if we project the picture outside, we can do it in a healthy way to, let's say, build things better, because we get ideas in here how to build, and then we transfer it to the external world. That's healthy. When we build a scenario here to destroy somebody, to hurt someone, and we take it outside, that's not healthy. Next picture, please. The world at your fingertips. And it takes contemplation to do that. Imagine this. Imagine all the centuries that humanity have walked on this earth. And how many people in the past have literally been able to view a picture like this in the past? How many had the chance to able to see a picture like this and to see the world like this? Out of the billions of people, you're one of the very few. Out of all the generations, you're one of the very few. Out of all the centuries, this is literally about the first century, actually. How fortunate are you? And there's no religious context with this. Usually, if something was to put on this nature, it would be religious. So it's clean. Now, this is expanding thought. This is expanding your concepts. This is expanding your philosophies. And something like this helps to expand it quite simply. So what we have done here, we have taken the macrocosm of the education that we have and the various pictures that have been taken up by actual astronauts and cameras and brought down, worked it, hashed it, worked it, hashed it, and then being able to come up with a simple concept such as this, as the world at our fingertips, because our mind has expanded to this point. How many people in the past have not had the opportunity to do this because survival was so strong? Or being at war with another village was the case. Or basically, there was just no education, no tools, no space shuttle. It's a valuable picture. So the microcosm is exposed due to working the macrocosm, of developing the engineering of a space shuttle and people contemplating it enough, thinking about it, and bringing such an idea into a classroom. Next picture, please. This is our problem. And a few centuries ago, the person who drew this picture understood the problem that just does not exist today, but it has existed as long as human beings have asked the question, who am I, where am I, who made me, and what is all this all about? This goes to show, this illustration, that the problem has been persistent throughout all the ages. Nothing has basically changed. The conditions have changed. The only thing that has changed is that we have automobiles instead of carts, and we have cell phones instead of waiting for someone to come to our doorway and give us a message. But the universe has not changed. The conditions have not changed here at all. This person has definitely put some thought into it and probably had some experiences or has gone through some visions or whatever, and has tried to leave some, you could say, an idea of our predicament about those 4 questions that Margaret had asked here. Because to climb away from the village, to climb away from tradition, to climb away from all these problems and somehow walk through up the hill, up through the nature, on your knees, with humbleness, crawling through. Because to stand on your feet and then to observe this, can the mind handle it? So it indicates that we're let's say coming down to using as much bone as possible to hold us up while we stick our heads out of this particular dimension. And it's actually encountering the Eucharist, actually. Looking at the Eucharist eye to eye, or having a glimpse of God, or having a glimpse of that inner light inside that call this uncaused light, and this is the light of cause, and this is the difference here. For this is the edge of the universe, of the universe of this particular person. Here's the sun emanating caused light, because there's a cause behind the sun that creates its fire and its light. This nuclear reaction going on here. So everything, there's a cause and effect, a complete cause and effect on the inside. To crawl out due to humbleness and using as much bone as possible to support oneself. So when you view, pull your head outside of cause and effect, and to all of a sudden see light that has no cause whatsoever, what is your mind going to do? It's going to be difficult. But the person is well prepared. You can see that the person is probably, maybe has done it. That it's not what you think. It is not, what would you say, this is Italy? I think this was an Italian or a German painting. Lights, please. And to draw it, and to actually stick your head into on cause. The paradox. I'm human, and yet... And this is the hard part. Before you were conceived, was it light of cause and effect that you existed in? After you pass away, do you go will you be in light that is manufactured by another nuclear sun? Is that going to be your light? Or are they going to give you a flashlight with energized batteries, you know? Are you going to have, what is it? What is this light going to be? And you must ask yourself, you know, if you really think about it, what is the only medium that we can literally transverse all dimensions? It's light. That's the only medium. It's not your wallet, not your hairbrush, it's not your favorite shoes, it's not even your favorite pillow. It's light. And here we play with it from the dream, waking up, dream, waking up. It's only light. But you must ask yourself, what kind of light? What kind? What keeps us locked in, what keeps us so confused, is that from the time we are born, we are inundated with light of cause and effect. And so we think cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. So everything has a basis of cause and effect. We think of God, cause and effect. That's why we got heaven and hell, and that doesn't exist. But it's got to be because of cause and effect. Good, bad. You're the light, I'm the dark. I'm the dark, you're the light. Cause and effect. So everything that you think, everything that you start to contemplate is cause and effect. And that's where we blow it. What is the light of spirit? What if the light of spirit is light itself, but there's no cause and there are no effects of this light? And what issues this light in spirit anyway? Does it come from a flashlight? Does it come from a little campfire? Is a light just is? Does a light give you a sunburn? Does a light make you do this? Does a light make you cry? Does a light make you do this? Or what is this? This is what we think, because it's got to be, because the only light there is cause and effect. And we dodge in and out of the light all the time. But what if the light just simply is? Life is. I am who I am. No cause and no effect. What are you going to do with all the war that you have not completed? What are you going to do with all those things that you need to do? What are you going to do with all that agitation that is still running through you? No wonder people, when the door ajar, when we open up that door just a little bit and we start to run for the pearl, and all of a sudden, cause and effect dissipates. And all of a sudden, all the reasons all of a sudden start to dissipate. We get lost. Because there's no cause, there's no effect. What's the reason? Hunger's not pushing me anymore. Fear's not pushing me anymore. So we run back. We go right back to our comfortableness of cause and effect, fear, anger, reason, doubt. At least I'm comfortable with that. I know all their faces and all their names. Have you ever had a dream of no cause and no effects? Nothing to do, but you are? Nowhere to go? I mean, there's nowhere to go anyway, but you are? Think about it. Light is the only medium that transverses all dimensions. Your job is to think about what kind of a light is it? Is it light of cause and effect, or light of uncaused light? What are you going to do? What are you going to do, astronauts? How are you going to take it, astronauts? What are you going to do? The only thing you can do is to contemplate it, think about it, contemplate it, think about it. So if you find yourself walking into that time and space, you recognize it and you don't walk backwards and shut the door. What do you think? I mean, what is so ironic? People, they walk into these situations, I guess you could say quite often, when you meet someone that you really, really like. Really like. And you look into each other's eyes, and there's nothing to say. There's no cause. There's nothing to say. But we can't take it too long. It's too much, because we're not used to it. We got to throw something in there. We have to distract ourselves, in essence. And what is meditation? Meditation is a place of non-distraction. To be non-distracted in the undistractable. Nothing. Just present. There. So think about light with no cause and no effects. Just is. How much can you take? Do a stopwatch. Next picture, please. The professor's dream. Here we have most likely Assyrian civilization, long before Grecian. And here we have Grecian, and then Roman, and then as you can see here on the shores, then we're going further back. We got Egyptian here, and then Grecian, and then Roman. And as we keep going back from the early times, we find ourselves going more and more into the present day life. People, even though we are here in the present, in the year 2000, this is always underneath our feet. And again, like that picture prior of those questions that we have, who am I and where am I? People have always had those same questions. Nothing is new except new traditions, a different way to think, a different way to look at the sky and life and people, and survival is very different and to some degree. But yet, we're as old as the people down here. People still hurt, people still hunger, people still want good things for their family and good things for themselves, and really it's quite simple. But the rules of society is what really changes basically here. So it's always good to look at the whole when we look at ourselves. Next picture, please. Light. Have you ever thought about the light that is actually coming into your eyes? We don't look at it that way. When we basically think about this, we're looking out, and that we look and we see out here, that we're seeing out here. But that's not the case. It's not the case at all. In reality, what is actually happening is that this reflected light that is bouncing off this edge right here is bouncing back, and we actually see in here. We don't see out here. The illusion is that we see out here. That's what it looks like. But we actually see in here. But actually, that's still not the case. Actually, it goes down an optical nerve all the way to the back of the head. And then it starts to light up the back of the head with the various visions, and starts to put together what all the various protons and particles that are coming in, and it puts it together as a motion picture, so to speak. And so we're seeing in here. We don't see out here. Lights, please. How does the mind work? How does the biology work? How do we really see? When we realize that light is coming in, and I'm seeing you in here, I'm not seeing you out there, but the illusion is that I see you out there. It's because the light is reflected out, and my brain has enough neurons that I can have a good idea about distance and colors and this and all that, and I can recognize you and your names and all this, but we all just see in here. And if that is the case, if it's all being done here and the illusion is out there, that means that if I have a little bit of cynicism about you, a little bit of doubt about you, if I don't like something about you, I can alter the light a little bit inside. That's interesting. Make you a little monster inside. Well, you deserve it. You are a monster. Make you really nice inside. Make you much better. Makeup. Huh? Interesting, isn't it? That's really interesting. So in essence, it's kind of like, boy, I've got the pen. I've got the paintbrush, and I'm going to paint you the way I want to paint you, people. Okay, I'll take a little bit of this, but I'm still going to do what I want to do with you, what you deserve. You know, the funny thing is, we know very well, there's been enough case studies. Witnesses, you can get 10 witnesses to an accident, 10 witnesses to anything, and you're going to get 10 different ideas, 10 different ways and means of what happened. What happened? Oh, I saw this, and that's the truth. Oh, I saw you did this, and that's what I really saw. Yeah, what I see. I really know what I see. Boy, you gave me that look, didn't you? I saw it. What a mess. My God, yes. Is it true that we just, yeah, it's, but, pardon me? We, say that again? That we really don't see anything. We see a reflection of it. Yes, we're seeing, right. In essence, can any human being see the tree for what it is? It's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult to really see anything in its true light. It's pretty difficult because our brain is so busy, our mind is so busy while we're observing the bark, while it's growing, while it's decaying, while worms are coming out, while I'm worrying, while I'm thinking, while I'm pondering, while I'm hurting, while I'm hungered, while it's a little cold out here, while I'm looking at the tree. Yeah, I saw the tree. I see it. Eh? Do you really see me for who I am? Can you? Buyer beware. Buyer beware. What you're buying. People, give life time. Give the situation time. Give people time. Give it plenty of time to develop plenty of pictures and see things before you stamp the situation. Etch it in stone. Okay. Wait. Do a lot of waiting. An awful lot of waiting. The phenomenon of sight is a difficult one because we We use it so easily, so often. We don't pay any attention to it. We really don't put any thought into it. We just react, and do and think we do, and see we don't. We really can't. Very difficult. So be careful about being right, okay? Okay? That's my suggestion to you. When you really think about it, be very careful about ever being right, what you see, okay? Stand back and give it some time. And maybe it happened like that. Maybe. Who knows? Yes.
Our mind might label it, but we don't have to believe it.
Our mind might label it, but you don't have to believe it. Again, I don't believe in anything. I gave that up a long time ago. That's dangerous.
Like when I see something, I might have my mind might want to sort of nail it to the wall, like you're saying. But somehow, if you maybe can see that the mind is doing that job, then it doesn't have to have such a...
That's right. Because the mind's job is to label and categorize and box, right? And that's right. You don't have to, hey, right. Don't jump on it and say, hey, right. All it did was categorizes and box. It's just that your personality, your persona, goes with it, and you think that you're it. And then you say, this is what happened. No, you don't know. You don't really know. Your mind's going to categorize it, label, point it, put it in its appropriate place as best as possible. Listen to that. As best as possible. What it thinks should go, or maybe, or ought to, or maybe just out of convenience, goes in this particular box, and then you're going to box that person with that particular box, even though I didn't mean to put it in that box, but, right? Yes, yeah. And that's where we separate. That a person starts to separate the persona and self when it starts to understand the mind's got its function, it's got its job, it's going to do that, but you don't have to go with it. Because you know that the mind doesn't, it's difficult to really witness anything for what it is because we're so busy. Especially if you have an agenda, especially if you've got a little, something behind you that's not so nice. Right? Yes. Stand back, give yourself time. Yeah.
So how come when I see you, although you're saying I might not see you for who you are, I'm seeing something that brings me back again and again that I can trust. And obviously there's many people here doing the same. When I see you, whatever I'm seeing, you're saying is really in here. But there's something I trust here.
Yeah, you know why you keep coming back to see me? You want to hear it? You see, I know how the subconscious works. Okay. So what I do, I get into my meditation at home, and I write across my forehead in spirit words, trust me. Trust me. And you see it, and pretty soon you don't even see it anymore, and you just trust me. Because you see it. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. It really is. It really is like that, because I trust myself. Yeah, I trust myself. You know why I trust myself? Because I know that I have to be very careful what I see. Very, very, very careful. Because I trust myself that I'm very careful what I see. I'm very, very careful because I can easily make mistakes. I trust that. I trust that, people. And I trust myself that when I do make mistakes, I know I made a mistake. I trust that. And when I'm wrong, I trust it. I really trust it. And I can laugh with it. You can't, basically. Huh? You only trust yourself when you're right. Yes. Yeah.
then my mind will start to trust me more, and I start trusting people.
Exactly. People, the mind, again, once any creature has breathed oxygen for so long and has walked the earth or been a microbe in the air or been you for so long, it kind of runs on its own. And don't we just kind of run on our own throughout the day? Have you noticed that about yourself? Sometimes you just automatic, don't even know it, you know. If it can do that, and when all of a sudden you wake up and you are in this body, it's still going to run on its own. And your job is to kind of like stand back and pull away and recognize the difference. Huh? You got to learn to recognize the difference between these. Huh? And then you get to know your mind. You get to know the qualities, the frequency, the angle, the whatever your mind. It becomes pretty clear. You can almost even give it a name, and you know when it comes through the door, when it's what it's doing and when it's speaking. And when a person starts to have a good sense of themselves, it's pretty much almost like a very empty space, but yet you are. Because there's really nothing there, but yet you are. The mind creates the nails, the hammers, the weapons, and this and that, and we identify with it, and that's where we get into trouble. Again, it's nothing but clouds in there. You know? And when you believe the clouds, people, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. The difference is, I know they're just clouds. Yes.
Is that what happens when your mind shatters? You know, sometimes talk about the llama shattered your mind.
Yes.
What's it like when your mind shatters? And does that have to happen in order to receive the sacrament or to wake up?
No, your mind does not have to shatter at all, not even close to receive the sacraments. Not at all, for the sacraments to actually come down. Not at...
Seems to have been a very significant point in your process.
Yeah.
The way you talk about it.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be that.
No.
We don't need to repair that.
No. That is my objective. To shatter your minds. That's my objective, yes. Yeah, as much as possible, as many as possible.
Why does the mind not resist that? Or does the mind resist
Because, why? Because it will, in essence, you could say, completely lose its reference points. It will completely, its reference points will be dislodged. Its footing will no longer be there.
It comes back to kind of what I was saying to you, almost like the question I asked you yesterday, or the thing I said yesterday. It's almost like the thing you're trying to do it with, A, it can't do it because it's outside of itself, and B, why would it even want to if it's going to lose its hold, it's going to lose its, you know what I mean?
Very true. Very true. Good point. In Scotland, it's a little difficult because you have a lot of cloud cover most of the time. And so your perspective of the earth is very different than where I come from. We have a lot of blue sky. And so therefore the night, the infinity shows itself very easily at night where I'm from. The stars, you know, the ceiling is gone. The one thing that a foundation that became extremely clear in the beginning of my process that I stayed with continuously, that I used to always refer and walk myself out, whatever environment you are in will tell you very much what your predicament is, and it will give, and those are the clues how to walk yourself out. You got to understand what your environment is. if we look back, our environment is that we live in a fishbowl. We're really fish in a fishbowl people. We are literally locked up in a bubble, really contained and locked up in a very, very small bubble in the universe. And we are dependent on this oxygen. The only time we really get to see our predicament is when the sun goes away. And all of a sudden, the sky opens up. And there's no, it doesn't stop any place. It just keeps going and going and going and going. So it shows us the fishbowl phenomenon, that we're locked up in it. And this planet keeps going around and around and around and around and around, and Jesus, around and again and around and again and around and again, and we go to bed and we get up, we go to bed, 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 around and around and around and around and around, and we go to bed, we get up, get to bed, we get up. And you got to do this, because this is what's really happening. It's just that we get so busy with our everyday stuff, we don't pay any attention to it. But the reality, it's a reality, people. We're going around and 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 around, and we go to bed, we get up, we go to bed, we get up, we go to bed, we get up, we go to bed, going around and around and around and around and around. And Scots don't think they do that. They don't. Nobody does. Nobody does. If you pay attention, what's going to happen? What's really, really happening? We're going around and around and around and around and around. We go to bed, we get up, we go to bed, we get up, we go around and around and around and around and around and around. That's what's really happening. That's a reality. That's the big picture. That's what matters to me. Don't get me lost in these dramas and these dreams. Anybody can do that. I want to know what in the world is really happening to me. I'm going around and around and around and around. That's what's really happening. I go to bed, I get up, 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 I go to bed, I go to round and around. That's what's really happening. It's a reality, people. And it's a very big reality. It's so damn big, we don't see it. We get so lost in ourselves, we don't see it. It's too big. Leave it for the gods. Leave it for only a few and the people. I'm too busy. I want to go and live. But what is really happening here? The fishbowl is prominent. The fishbowl has got me locked in. The beauty of living in our time today is that we have astronauts. And astronauts are trained. Hey, when you get up there, it is not Scotland. It is not America. It is not Texas. It's not even New York. To live in a time and place, to have the opportunity, to have the ways and the means to literally push a needle outside our bubble, to get out there and to look back, to see what in the world is this going around and around and around. I mean, there's a much bigger picture out there. It's just our little tiny little world down here with little bits of little land, little bits of sand, and little bits of twigs and trees and mud. It's when we care enough, when we stop just looking just 2 feet above our heads and we start to use these telescopes. Not just the telescopes on top of various mountains, but the telescopes in here is what matters. The telescopes of our hearts is what matters. This is what breaks us out of our fishbowl phenomenon. But it's got to be that a want, a frustration. It takes frustration, people, to do it. It takes a lot of frustration. It takes a lot of grinding and pondering and wondering, but you got to look. It's painful to see all this stuff. It's painful to really look at the reality that all we do is go around and around and around and around for what? What? When you finally ask the question why and you begin to look now, stop this damn thing. Stop it. Stop it. That's the stillness. That is the stillness that can finally show its face. No more cause and no more effects. Life simply is. People, to draw the Eucharist doesn't take a prayer. It doesn't take a religion. You don't have to be holy. It has nothing to do with being holy. Just looking with those eyes that have been given to you. Very precious sight. Very precious mind, to utilize it and stretch the hell out of it. Stretch it. And go through the struggles. It takes a struggle. What do you think to light that match? Do you realize how many millions of years, billions of years to be able to strike a match? Without struggle, there's no growth. You go through the friction inside. Let your brain, let your mind go through this friction. That's what it constantly takes and takes and takes and takes and takes. And you don't give up striking it until it finally lights inside. And the world will stop. You'll understand what the paradox is. Why war? Why peace? Why no? Why yes? Why birth? Why death? Why hunger? Why what it is to be full? What it is to be blind and ignorant? What it is to be crippled? What it is to be on top of a tree? And what it is to be buried. Because it has stopped. The fire dance tomorrow. It's Monday, huh? Bring your bodies that get up and lie back down. Bring those bodies that go around and around and around that you never paid any attention to. It's like page 2. In page 2, the light that is still. That's what this is about, to finally realize the light that is still, no matter what age you are. To feel and know that stillness inside. Fire dance tomorrow. it's like a cell phone. Cell phones actually are receiving vibrations, but they're signals, but they're still transmitted into vibrations. And these signals or vibrations, the instrument itself transmits it and knows exactly like what kind of dance it is. You know, if it's a dance of rock and roll, or you're doing some kind of classical dancing or salsa dancing, and it knows how to read this. And this is how our spirit is. And when we are walking the earth, and depends on how you are walking. If you're walking with a great deal of respect, somehow that vibration can transmit itself 100 miles below the surface, and this transmitter, which is your spirit, picks it up and is able to take it. But most of the time we're walking the earth, or we're dancing, and the vibrations, they only go down maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 feet, and they don't go down all the way. They don't reach. And that is the death of our spirit. It's very, very, very deep inside. And so it takes sometimes we have to call the whole community, and everybody, let's dance in unison. So, and then that vibration, because everybody's dancing, it's able to travel 100 miles below the surface, and it picks it up. But you have to reach it. And it's not easy to reach that great depth at all. And this is what makes it difficult for us. And we know that. We know that we can only touch people. We can only touch ourselves very few times in a given lifetime. Because most of the time is donated to complacency. It's donated to just being almost superficial. It's donated to just going to the store, doing this, doing that, or we have to wait until we're really hurt to feel and touch ourselves deep down inside. So, but when we have the knowingness that it's 100 miles below, and to get that vibration to be felt, so we can, let's say, carry the message with us, we really have to dance even though the community is gone, it won't dance with us. We have to dance by ourselves. We really have to dance hard. So that vibration reaches down, deep down inside. And that is really the reality and the depth of our spirit. It's so down, it's so deep inside. It's not easy to reach. Because people, it's the same thing. Reality in the microcosm literally translates itself into the macrocosm. It's almost the same. What's true in heaven is true on earth. Not quite, but it's pretty much the same thing. You know how difficult it is to really touch another human being, to really reach another human being? It's difficult. You got to really, really work at it. And it's not that easy. As it is with ourselves inside. Yeah. Same thing. And in essence, it's very much like the dance. We are able, in the fire dance, to touch ourselves now in comparison to how it was 8, 9 years ago. There's a big difference. But in essence, it's how we dance and how we touch the earth is what shows the change that has literally taken place over the years. And how you have touched the earth in the very beginning, those very early years, there was hardly anybody touching the earth. But now there's no, let's say, inhibition. You don't have that doubt inside you. And it's those signals. Constant signals, and the heart inside, which is that great spirit inside, translates the signals. Yeah. Yeah. As it is for prayer. Prayer is also the same thing. A person just cannot get up and pray. It doesn't work like that. And just because you have a mala beads or rosary or whatever you want to call it, or just stones, doesn't mean you can pray. Or just because you open up your mouth and you say some words, you're just pushing air. To pray is a very unique time and space. And either you're in it or you're not. As it is, it's kind of like crying. You know when you're really crying versus like you're on stage and you're pretending that you're crying? You know, what's the difference? Big difference. Either you're there or you're not. And that is the beauty of understanding ceremonies. And that is the beauty of dancing on the earth. And because it's a preparation, and we can't just always dance on the earth 24 hours a day and do this anytime, any day, and to send those signals 100 miles below the surface. Special events, unique events. We hold them precious. We hold them very, very precious. A beautiful letter, a beautiful thought, a beautiful experience, a beautiful sequence. A beautiful birthday, a beautiful time that we met. These are the things, these very, very few things in our lives that literally touch all human beings. And we hold these times very, very precious. And the reality is we can't always be happy. It doesn't work like that. So there is something to being not happy and happy. There's something to just walking and nothing happening, and there's really something to something happening. And to hold on to both, not just to these precious moments. It's both, people. It takes both. Remember this. This is something, it's a beautiful, beautiful code. It's a very secret code, you could say. It's a code that a great deal, not just teachers or shamans or mystics or whatever, but they know this very, very, very well. When the drums are banging loud, when the drums are banging so loud that it makes your bones rattle inside, dance like hell, but when the drums stop, do not stop dancing. In essence, people, when nothing is happening, you can't pray, you can't cry, you don't even want to laugh, you don't even care. That is the time to start dancing very, very quietly inside. When the storms are all gone, the rain is away, even the sun is down, and even the stars won't even come out yet. No birds are singing, there's nobody meeting you down the street. Nothing to recall, nothing to remember, for everything somehow has neutralized itself, internally and externally. And somehow you're not tired, you're not hungry, you're not full. Somehow there's no thought, somehow there's no past and no present. Somehow you're just walking down the street. Nothing's happening in essence. This is the time to keep dancing. This is the time that change really takes place, because it is still, very still. So the peak of drum beats and the stillness of time and space and stillness of sound and effort, these two peaks pay attention to. And in between takes up and consumes most of our life of just ordinary living. The magic, people, it's in your life. It's just keeping your eyes and your ears open. You have to give yourself, you got to give yourself plenty, plenty of time. Magic? The only real magic that I know is us opening up our eyes in the morning To me, that's the only magic I really, really know of. That's real magic. And even though our eyelids are heavy and tired and don't want to open up, that's magic. From darkness to light. How much more magic could we really, really want? There ain't no better magic. There ain't magic that can even, anything cannot outdo that. From darkness to light. And then the magic again from light to darkness. And how we can easily dance, fly away like a butterfly, in and out of darkness and light. And light and darkness and darkness and light and darkness and light. And so easy. How magical do you really want to get? Life already is. Life already has happened. It is. But we have to realize that we are constantly spinning over and over and over and over, for that is really what is taking place. And for a human being to really have any stillness, it's basically impossible. No matter how great of a meditator you are, it is impossible for any human being, any species, to be in total stillness.